Welcome to the Magnetic Leadership Podcast by educator Dave Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and just thrilled to be a part of this team, and we're doing work that matters. And one of the ideas I think is really good is spaced repetition, hearing things again and again. Michael Durkin talks about tracks, and we do become what we think about. And if you think the same thought over and over again, those tracks become deeper and more permanent, and we remember them. And I was going to talk about some things that mean a lot to me, and I've got some slides. This is a thought that I have really thought. And in fact, to begin that off, a lot of times when we hear a story or something like that, we think in terms of, thinking a lot of that is stories. And I remember when I was just very young, and just comprehending what time meant, learning about yesterday and today and tomorrow, and comprehending that a little bit, and just thinking more. My mom said something to me when I was in conversation of how long something is, and she said, well, imagine that you have a solid granite stone, and it's 1 mile by 1 mile by 1 mile. It's just a huge granite cube. Imagine that's big. And then imagine every 100 years, a bird comes and sharpens its beak on that stone. Well, when that stone is worn all away, that's a day in eternity. And that's really hard to comprehend, but it really stuck in my mind. So all of those many years ago, sometimes that comes up when I think about something that's really big and really long. It's wonderful what moms do. I just along that line, as far as memories and things, I remember the very first talk I gave in church when I was probably 4 years old or something like that. And it's just a little limerick. And actually, that's the same talk that I gave for all of my kids to give their first talk. And I think it's really a fun talk. It's a silly little poem. The world is like a mirror reflecting what you do. And if your face is smiling, it smiles right back at you. Well, here I am looking at the ocean here. What does that have to do with granite blocks and mirrors and smiling? Well, here's a thought that I think could just really stay in your mind and make you think. And perhaps you've had this opportunity. That's certainly one of my favorite things, is to stand on the front of a boat and just look out. And it's very beautiful. But here's a mental picture that you can imagine. Okay, let's say you're all alone in a rowboat. It's provisioned with water, food, things like that. So there's no immediate urgency. You don't know where you are. And you stand up, and everywhere you look, this is what you see. How would you feel? I talk about that because I think one of the most important things as far as human beings is we need to know where we're going. I think that's what's wrong with so many people, is they're asking these really important questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is the purpose of my life? What am I supposed to do? And this just really hits me, just being in a boat and you know nothing as far as where you're going. Now, imagine those very identical circumstances, but you stand up and off in the distance you see this. How would your attitude change? Where would you go? Well, you would have a very clear, defined destination, something to shoot for, and you'd have much more enthusiasm, hope. Everything would change in your mental picture of that by just having a vision of some place to go, someplace appealing. That is so much about everything. And along this idea, I want to talk about a new book I've got, and it's just an amazing, amazing book. And it's actually titled, we get that out, Living an Extraordinary Life by Robert White. And the subtitle is actually what I've got in the slides there. Unlocking the Potential for Success, Joy, and Fulfillment. Well, when we went to the convention, one of the things that was a big emphasis is that we learn in terms of threes. We learn, teach, remember in threes. So many things are in threes. And wouldn't you know, this book is the same idea. It's ARC And I would have never thought, and he believes that this is the real fundamental thing as far as having an extraordinary life is to be really good at ARC, awareness, and then responsibility and communication. Those are the three. Well, if I was asked that before looking in the book or visiting with him, I wouldn't have thought of those three things necessarily. But the more I'm looking at that book, the more I think it's just really important. So let's just go through these really fundamental things, just a few ideas to get you thinking here. Awareness. Well, standing up in that boat, first, if you didn't know where you were, that would be really some consternation. So I think the most important thing is just awareness where I is. And here's something I think is really wonderful as your mindset. Where your mind goes, your life follows. That you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. And it can determine whether you become the person you want to be and whether you accomplish the things that you value. And so just be aware, self-awareness. What do you want? And along that idea is this mindset. One of the things that's so remarkable, it's our mental compass that directs us. And if you have a good mindset, it's just infinitely valuable as far as guiding you, who you are, what your values are, your directions, and everything about your life. But one of the most interesting things is how rapidly that can change. And this is one of my very favorite thoughts is, and this is Jim Rohn, when you change, everything will change for you. Profound. Well, here's a thing too. When I first heard about this idea and really got into Jim Rohn many years ago, acting on that and being in the right place at the right time and realizing that and knowing what to do, I had a wonderful success, just a dream life in everything possible. Everything was going so well to the point where I felt fairly bulletproof. I thought, this is, wow, I am in my life's purpose. Fundamentally, I was making a big difference with a whole lot of people and tremendous satisfaction. Essentially, I could pretty much do what I wanted to do. I had time and money, freedom, and ability to help other people do that. It was wonderful. But then gradually that drifted away until there was nothing there. Now, on the other hand, I really didn't have financially, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't buy a plane or something like that, but I was comfortable. But what is comfortable if you also realize you're stuck, especially if you've tasted what life could be and it doesn't happen. And this is a big thing that just was weighing me down. And we've heard a thing that's been attributed to Einstein. I think it's so profound that insanity is to do the same thing and expect different results. And here it is, another way to say it is doing more of what doesn't work won't make it work any better. And that was what was happening to me. And also, here's a phrase that hit me, and I did not want to learn this, but if I stayed there, this is what was happening. Learned helplessness. This is big stuff right here. I think awareness, one of the most important things is when you're becoming self-aware, is you got to be thinking, okay, what I is and where I is, all of these things. Okay, here I am. Where do I want to go? And some of my favorite phrases is MTP, massively transformative purpose. Isn't that a fun thing to think about, having a massively transformative purpose? And I don't know where I first heard this, but it's fun. A BHAG, BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. But boy, people that are really living their life and are happy, they've got some great, big, hairy, audacious goal, and they're working towards it. Things are happening. And that's the most satisfying way to live your life, is to just have this compelling vision. Be aware what you're doing, and you're going there. And ideally, you're bringing people along with you, and things are happening, and you're enthusiastic. That's going to get you out of bed. That's going to get you excited. But what you don't want to do is think, okay, it's Sunday afternoon. Oh my goodness, just a few more hours. I'm going to have to go back to work and do things I really don't want to do. And Monday. So many people think about Monday morning as to the point where statistically that's the most likely that you're going to have a heart attack. Think about that. Are you going to waste a wonderful weekend having a heart attack on a Friday? No. But oh my goodness, wouldn't it be nice to live your life where you wake up Monday morning and think, oh, it's Monday and I've got the whole week before me and I get up and go to work and I'm excited about that. That's the way you want to be. Have something to be enthusiastic about. Well, I was that way for many, many years, but now I was stuck. And in fact, you really can't be stuck. You're either growing or you're dying. You can't stay the same. And that's what was happening to the company I was with. No matter what I did, however, any actions I took, every year was less than the year before as far as any way to measure performance. Well, some of the things I could do individually, yeah, I could sell product, I could recruit people, and I was actually getting awards, top person in recruiting and doing all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't duplicate that. The people I brought in, they couldn't. Fundamentally, new people, recruiting new people made nothing and couldn't go anywhere. Wow, that was driving me crazy. I really think so much of your mental health is proportional to the degree that you feel like you're in control of your life. And being in the driver's seat of my life and then having someone else change my circumstances. At the same time, hearing this idea that I've heard over and over again, that I don't believe in circumstances. The people that get on to life are the ones that look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't make them, if they can't find them, they make them. And all of those type of things. And more, I was just thinking, what would it take for me to leave? And I was anxiously looking around. I couldn't find anything. And then I had a health crisis, and that turned into a new business opportunity. But an interesting idea right there, that every adversity can have seeds of equal or greater benefit. But along that idea, I just think, wow, you need to, just going with the slide right here, you're either sick and tired of being sick and tired or staying the same, or you've got this burning desire to change who you are and live a different life. Well, I had both of those. Ideally, if you want to change, get both of those working for you. Be frustrated. I like to think of the term inspirational dissatisfaction. I think that's what created Avini Health, was just being frustrated by other people driving what we had off into a ditch. We're taking charge. And so, okay, I'm stuck. Well, I've heard this idea. If you're blaming others for those circumstances, by doing that, you give your power to them. If you're saying it's their fault, how can you change if you don't have responsibility? And so that's a critical thing. And that moves to responsibility. Okay, what am I going to do about it? I could stay there with learned helplessness, or I could get sick and tired of being sick and tired and be thinking, I want to do something different. And for things to change, I need to change. And when I change, everything will change for me. And so, oh my goodness, I love these ideas right here. Okay, where I is, but where I'm going is up to me. What a wonderful opportunity. What a sobering responsibility that we have the ability to choose where we're going to go. What would that be? If you could just somehow think in your mind, okay, a couple of years from now, I'm going to be living my ideal life. What would that look like? Where would I be living? What kind of house would I have? My relationship, my family, my finances, my position in my career, all of those things being ideal, what would that look like? And what would I need to do to get there? And with these thoughts right here, we've been taking notes with MJ Durkin, and here's just a couple of things that have stand out to me. And I just really agree, and they're expressed so well. Human beings love to accomplish things. Now think about that. When are you the happiest? When you're in the process of accomplishing something. We've all heard that idea of the definition of success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's not necessarily a destination. In fact, it's a process. It's moving along. And if you really think about all of the things in life, I've heard so many stories visiting with people They've arrived, supposedly. They are living the dream. But when you visit with them, the funnest times in their life was getting there, the struggle. Some of the things that were maybe difficult that they didn't want to do, but they did it anyway, and they got there, and it made it taste all that better. And so always have something to accomplish. Always have something going forward. Don't arrive unless you have another place to already in your mind where you're going to go there. So this is a fun phrase. Desire pulls us forward. Wow. Wanting more is noble and necessary. And again, we're responsible for all of those things. All of these things are wonderful. Desire, having a worthy desire, wanting more, it's a good thing. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Are we going to dabble or do something? And that's what I love about Avini is we got a vehicle, we got a plan to answer just about all of the things that most people would really love to do. But day to day, what I love is so much of our happiness is just our relationship. So, wow, be responsible. Again, if you're blaming someone else, oh goodness, it's just, you can't do that. It means being responsible. It means I'm not waiting for someone or something outside of me to fix my life. I've got to take charge and do it myself. Responsibility. This just fills you with all sorts of power when you take charge of your life. Power and possibilities. This is so empowering. And be a victor, not a victim. Take charge. Okay, ARC. This is interesting. So awareness and responsibility, communication, that's the number 3 thing. And this is a wonderful idea here. Williams Jennings Byron, a lawyer, a very gifted orator. This is something he said, and I just really like this idea here. He says, I have observed the power of the watermelon seed. It has the power of drawing from the ground and through itself 200,000 times its weight. When you can tell me how it takes this material out of it, colors and outside surface beyond the imitation of art, and then forms inside of it a white rind, and within that again a red heart, thickly inlaid with black seeds, each of which is capable of drawing through itself 200,000 times its weight, when you can explain to me the mystery of a watermelon, you can ask me to explain the mystery of God. I think that's such an idea here. Now, if you've ever picked up a watermelon seed, it doesn't weigh very much. In fact, I guess he's done the calculations. 200,000 watermelon seeds is equivalent to one watermelon, 200,000 seeds. And it fits into this idea that you've probably heard that any fool can count how many seeds are in an apple, but only God knows how many apples are in a seed. This is just fun things to think about. But communication, it's such a big thing. Communication, we've talked about this. I think this is one of the most wonderful things. And Steve Jobs says it so well that the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and so here it is, sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. Wow, telling stories. Wow, telling stories. Words have magic in them. And when you get involved with Avini, essentially, to be really successful, you become a really good storyteller. So much of all this is about the stories. And we've accumulated thousands of indexed stories of wonder, things that have happened to people that are introduced to Avini and what happens to them. Wonderful stories. We've got a lot of kids, and one of the most interesting things is you get a kid around you, and if you're sitting down, tell me a story. That's one of the most wonderful things. We all love those stories. Just sink into the brain. We can't help ourselves. They're mesmerizing. And that's what I've done my whole career of building these types of a business. Is my thought in my mind, initially many years ago, was to have a cassette tape with a story and tell them to take that cassette and put it in their car, and they're driving along. Most people They're all by themselves going along in a car, and they put that tape in, and here's this spoken word, a voice telling a story. And it's all of a sudden, it's like there's another person sitting next to them in the car rehearsing a story. And you can't help yourself. I remember the experiences, just one as an example. Along in my business, we've graduated up to CDs at that point, and I'm visiting with a new friend. And very quickly, he realizes what I'm doing, and he stops me and he says, "Hey, I know what you're doing. I love the idea, but if I get in another one of those things, my wife will leave me." And I said, "Oh, totally understand. Yeah, I get it." And then we visit a little bit more, and I say, "Hey, take this CD, just listen to it. I think you'll find it interesting." He says, "Okay." The next day he calls me. He says, I got to do this. It's so compelling when you have a good story. That's how I've built my business. The whole idea is to learn to tell stories and also just get really good at getting people curious enough to listen to a tool that essentially has a story in it. Powerful stuff. Just some other ideas as far as threes. We think and teach and remember in threes. This is a fun thought right here. Do you want to do it? That's a good thing. Do you want to do this? How bad? We could go into quite a thing on that. Is just desire. Do you want to do it? And then the idea, is this going to work? Well, but probably the best way to look around on something like that is, of course, look at other people. That would be the best thing. Has anybody else done it? And how realistic is it? And then also, maybe you can do it, but is it really worth it? And so I think this is a fundamental thing when you look at an opportunity or anything else is, do you want to do this? Will it work? And would it be worth doing it? Here's another one that I like that's a threesome. Okay, our basic wants, autonomy, the urge to direct our own lives. Also, mastery. Boy, it's so satisfying if you can really get good at something that matters. Oh, my goodness, that's a wonderful thing. So just be mastery. And then, what is my purpose here? And I think all of us, we're so much more alike than we are different. I think inside all of us, there's this yearning to do something in the service of something that's bigger than ourselves. We need more than just ourselves. And so here's some more stuff on communication. Wow. Our work, our relationships, our lives succeed or fail one conversation at a time. Now, if you think about this communication, okay, of all the important things that there are in our lives, everything, what holds our relationships together? Pretty much everything that's important has to do with communication. And going back to without communication, communication is communicating to another person. Well, you can accomplish very little alone. And so I think the critical thing is just, what can we do? Well, get really, really good at communicating. Leadership is the enthusiastic communication of your vision. I love that idea. So here we are. Now, here's an idea that I love as far as communication. And I think this is so powerful. And this is what drives this business is we got something so life-changing. And so, okay, here's our products. I experienced something myself that was so life-changing, and it changed me. Wow. And this is something that every day I'm thankful for. Well, at that point, I was obligated. And so I share something so life-changing, and other people changed. And here we have this wonderful plan. The Avini advantage is we've got these wonderful life-changing products, and we can go out and purposefully, deliberately get really good at facilitating these life-changing ideas to communicate them so others can change. So there it is. I experience something, I share something, and then we facilitate this to help others change. And we can help thousands and even millions of people change. And this is my life purpose. My best life is about inspiring others around me to realize their best life. And this is the comp plan. And I love it. of all the things that we have, is love. And that's what we're sharing, is love. And we can pay it forward with these wonderful, wonderful products. And the most wonderful feeling is to just help other people, and they help other people. And would you know it, threes, we think we build a business in terms of threes also. Find 3 really good people and teach them to do the same. Teach 3 to reach 3. And isn't this a fun thought right here? Connecting with other people brings infinite rewards. And it's so simple. This is one of my favorite thoughts. Strategies are like recipes. Choose the right ingredients, mix them in the correct proportions, and you will always produce the same predictable results. And I'm thinking back at the very beginning of these ideas of vision and purpose and where we came from. And I actually remember seeing a t-shirt that says, "Life's greatest questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where are the cookies?" And, okay, everybody loves cookies. This is my very favorite cookie that I've ever had, ever. And it's the macadamia coconut cookies. And following Charles Gibbons' Success as a Recipe, here it is. Now, here's the fun thing about this is it's really not that complicated. If you identify all the ingredients and you assemble them all together, you don't have to be very old. You could actually get a 6-year-old or 7-year-old and bring them into the kitchen with you, have this recipe card out, go through it a couple of times, and you could have them and anybody else just taking this recipe. Everybody with the recipe and those ingredients can consistently produce the same results, predictably. And Avini has a recipe. And the market we have for these products is immeasurable. The opportunity is just outstanding right now. Think about this. Okay, we got a recipe for success. We got amazing products. Everybody needs them. Nobody has them yet. We've got this wonderful story to tell. Get really good at telling the story. Get really good at passing out tools so Rick can tell his story. I do that again and again, day after day, and it starts compounding. And so the timing's right. The opportunity's yours. And get plugged in, follow the recipe, pass it on, and you will be super successful. Well, love you all, and I think we ought to go for it. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for joining the Magnetic Leadership Podcast with Dave Johnson. Take charge of your health and detoxify today with Avini Premium products.